It was a little overcast, but it was still a beautiful summer day. I was with a group of close friends who had planned a boat trip to celebrate Steve's birthday. There were 6 of us, including Steve, and we had all been looking forward to this day for weeks. As we set out with Mike driving the boat, the sun occasionally peeked out from behind the clouds, casting its warm rays over the ocean. The water was calm, with small ripples formed by the light breeze. We chatted excitedly as we got comfortable, turned up the stereo and cracked open some beers on the boat, ready to start our adventure. We had packed everything we needed for the day, including food and drinks, fishing gear, sunscreen, and hats. We were all in high spirits, laughing and joking around as we headed towards a spot where we hoped to catch some fish. We turned the stereo down once we reached the fishing spot so as not to scare off the fish. The sound of the waves and the gentle rocking of the boat was soothing and calming. We all took turns fishing, enjoying the beers and the fun of being out on the water. Mike and Steve even took a quick dip in the cool water, enjoying the refreshing feeling. Around 4 p.m., I thought we should start planning our return trip. "Hey Mike, you happy to take us back in soon?" I asked, knowing full well he was the only one with a boat license. "Yeah, I'm good. Give me 5 to finish this beer off and bring my line in," he replied. I nodded, then turned my attention to the stereo. I had noticed the music stopped and there was just some strange static coming through the speakers. I wasn't sure how long it had been like we had been a bit loud, laughing and carrying on quite boisterously, so I didn't think too much of it. I figured it was just a temporary glitch, and I just turned it off. Mike finished up his beer and pulled his line in, then made sure everyone else had done the same. "Hey Matt, can you take my rod for me? I'll get the boat started up and we can get out of here." "No problems," I said as I grabbed his rod from him. Mike headed into the cockpit as I started to dismantle the rod. "What the hell?" Mike said, more to himself than us. We all perked our heads up and moved over to him. "What's up?" Steve asked, and Mike just pointed to the GPS. The GPS system on the boat was acting erratically. It was jumping all over the place, and it was impossible to tell exactly where we were. That's when the stereo turned up on volume, and it was now picking up weird sounds, almost like an alien language. Mike grabbed the wheel with one hand and turned the key with the other. Nothing. He tried again and again. Not even a click. The boat's engine was dead, and we were just floating in the water. We tried to rationalize what was happening, thinking that maybe it was just a product of our imagination or that we were just tired from the day's activities. However, deep down, we all knew that something wasn't right. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the sky, hovering above the boat. It was so bright that we had to shield our eyes. We watched in disbelief as the light grew brighter, and a massive UFO appeared, descending towards us. A beam of light from the UFO enveloped the boat, and we found ourselves being lifted into the air, paralyzed with fear. The strange occurrences we had experienced earlier suddenly made sense. We were being abducted by aliens. As the UFO lifted us off the boat, we were completely helpless. We felt as if we were floating in space with nothing to hold on to and no control over what was happening to us. We were beamed on board the craft, and as we were brought inside, we saw strange beings with large black eyes and long, spindly limbs. We were then subjected to a series of medical exams and experiments that seemed to last for hours. The aliens poked and prodded at us, examining every inch of our bodies. We felt like we were nothing more than lab rats, helpless and alone. We couldn't communicate with the beings, and they showed no signs of understanding our language or our distress. The examinations were terrifying and invasive, and we could feel ourselves being tested in ways we couldn't even imagine. It was as if they were trying to learn everything they could about us. The experience was traumatic, and we were paralyzed, not only with fear, but chemically, unable to do anything to stop what was happening. We couldn't scream, couldn't move. The only thing we could do is shed tears, and that we did. The pain and terror we felt during the abduction was unbearable, but what the aliens did to Steve was beyond our worst nightmares. They singled him out, and we could only watch helplessly as they subjected him to the most unspeakable torture. First, they peeled his skin off his entire body, leaving him raw and exposed. We could see the horror on his face as he realized what was happening to him. It was as if he was being flayed alive, and he couldn't even scream from the excruciating pain. Then, the aliens inserted long needles into his exposed muscles, causing him to convulse and writhe in agony. It was unbearable to watch, and we could only imagine the torture he was going through. We could see the tears streaming down his face, and the look of sheer terror in his eyes. It was clear that he was suffering in ways that we couldn't even begin to comprehend. We were completely helpless to do anything, and we couldn't even offer Steve any comfort or words of encouragement. It was as if we were all trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up and escape from the horror that was unfolding before our eyes. As the days passed, we lost track of time, and we began to feel like we would never see our homes again. The aliens continued to study us, testing our physical and mental limits. We felt like we were being pushed to our breaking point, and we weren't sure if we would ever make it back to Earth. Then, one day, we woke up on the boat, dazed and disoriented. Initially, we couldn't move, couldn't speak. But slowly, we regained control over our bodies again, and we all burst into tears, seeking comfort from one another after the torment we had just endured. Was it even real? Was it a dream? A hallucination? I could only pray that it was, because as I looked at the terrified faces of my friends, I realized one face was missing. Steve. Steve never returned. We never spoke of the abduction, afraid that no one would believe our story. Instead, we told the police that Steve fell overboard in a drunken accident and was taken by a shark. It seemed like a preferable fate for Steve, and I hoped that his torment was over and that the aliens had allowed him to die. I fear, however, that is not the case, because 10 minutes ago my stereo started playing up, and through the static sounds I swear I could make out Steve's tormented screams, and I think they have come back for me,